All right, all praise, honor, glory to the Most High. White House Shah, man. Good to see everybody on this glorious day, the day of feast of dedication, our first night. We're gonna have a good time tonight. But the word of the Lord, everybody good? The word of the Lord has got to go before us, Khan. All right, so there's a couple articles, man. I want Ratazan to read. Anybody? This is it? They first feast of dedication. Anybody in the house? Okay. All right, cool. What we're going to be reading about is real, actual facts and history regarding the struggles of our people and the plight of facing the Greeks during the time of the 3rd century BC. Okay. We're talking about wars, bloodshed. We're talking about sacrifice. We're talking about our people regaining the temple and dedicating it back to the Most High after it was ramshacked by the Greeks. Okay, and the Greeks took our temple, tried to recreate it, and turn it into an abominable place of worship. You know, the man Antiochus turned it into a temple where Zeus was being worshipped, and it was about our people fighting to get that heathen custom, all them heathen ways up out of there, and get our people back on track with worshiping and following after the ways of the Most High. So, share the screen, and let's read that first article up. Yeah. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, you can read that one. So I'm gonna have the brother read a couple articles. One I shared last night on my live. This one we didn't, but we're gonna look at both. You don't have to read a lot of it, but it's just showing and proving the facts that archaeology is only going to substantiate what's in the Bible and our true history about our people and who we are. Go ahead and read that.
A 2,000-year-old Greek fortress has been unearthed in Jerusalem. All right. The fort played a role in the Jewish revolts that inspired Hanukkah.
So they excavated over in Jerusalem, and they found a fortress that was made by the Greeks during the time of the wars with the Maccabees. It's over 2,000 years old, and now they're substantiating the fact that the events that we're going to be reading about tonight truly did happen. Okay, go ahead.
For more than a decade, archaeologists have been excavating a site in Jerusalem known as the Gaveti parking lot. This week, the Times of Israel reports they have finally confirmed what they discovered: a citadel and tower that solved one of the greatest archaeological riddles in the history of Jerusalem. The site is believed to be a famous 2,000-year-old Greek fortress known as Acra, which played a key role in the Jewish revolts that inspired Hanukkah.
All right, so go to Revelation 12. Let's read Revelation 12 verse 16. Now, that's just one particular article, right? So we're seeing about how this archaeology proves, because you got some of the Christian apologists and the Christians say, oh, that book, the Apocrypha, that's not inspired. That's pseudo. That's not part of the Bible. That shouldn't be part of there. No, this is actually damn near almost 500 years of our history that puts a lot of the pieces of the puzzle together when we transition into the New Testament. Without the Apocrypha, you can't complete the mystery of the Bible. You got to have it, right? So go ahead and read that. Revelation 12 and 16.
Revelation chapter 12, verse 16. And the earth helped the woman.
Who's the woman? Anybody know? Israel. Can we prove it? Jake's loved it. Israel, prove it. Oh. Where's the crickets at? Okay, let's go. Hold that. Go to Jeremiah 6 and 2. Jeremiah 6 and 2. So it's telling us that the earth helped the woman, right? How is the earth going to help this woman? Who's this woman?
Jeremiah chapter 6, verse 2. I have likened the daughter of Zion to a comely and delicate woman.
Right. So Israel, the daughter of Zion, is a poetic term for acknowledging our people. Remember, we're the bride of Christ. We're the woman. Our nation is the woman that is described in this Bible. So going back to Revelation 12 and read verse 16 again.
Revelation chapter 12, verse 16. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth.
The dragon being Satan and his minions being a so-called white man. Now, this flood was known as the flood of lies. The earth is going to open itself up to help us squash the lies and absorb the flood of lies. How do we know that? Let's go to Isaiah 28. Let's read 16 and 17. And then I also want Psalms 85 and 11. But let's get Isaiah first. Isaiah 28, 16 and 17.
Isaiah chapter 28, verse 16. Therefore, thus says the Lord God, behold, I lay in Zion for a foundation, a stone, a tried stone, a precious cornerstone, a sure foundation. He that believeth shall not make haste. Judgment also will lay to the line, and righteousness to the plummet, and the hail shall sweep away the refuge of lies, and the waters shall overflow the hiding place.
All right, so verse 16 is talking about Christ. All right, it's talking about Yahweh Shai. When he said that he's the stone, he's the foundation, you can write down 1 Peter 2, 6 through 8. That helps you understand and know that precept regarding Christ being a stone. Then it said, judgment also will I lay to the line, and righteousness to the plummet, and the hail shall sweep away the refuge of lies. The hail meaning that water, that flood. That was what the lies was. And the earth, how's it going to help the woman through archaeology? Give me that also in Psalms 85 and 11. Archaeology is what's helping us put the pieces of the puzzle together. When we're seeing the excavations at, ancient churches, such as one called Dura Europa. And that's the oldest church in Syria, where they find all the dark-skinned images of Christ and Moses, Jonah. When you look at the Voronezh, which is another monastery in Romania, and you see all of the dark-skinned images of our people, angels, you even see them having white men, depictions of the so-called white man in chains and burning in the Voronezh in Romania. Then we see in all the other archaeology that puts everything in the pieces of the puzzles together, between from the slave ships, so forth and so on. All of those things lead us to help us understand and know how do we get rid of all the lies. Because what did Christ tell us in John 8 and 32? Ye shall know the truth, and the truth is going to do what? Make us free. So what are we going to be freed from? From the lies. You can't have one without the other. You can't have truth if there isn't a lie present. That's the only way that we can knock down these walls. So the Most High is letting us know that archaeology is going to be important, and the earth is going to open itself up to help us conquer these lies that's been told. So read that Psalms 85 and 11.
Psalms chapter 85, verse 11. Truth shall spring out of the earth, and righteousness shall look down from heaven.
So we're going to start seeing more truth, more excavations, more archaeology that helps prove our point in knowing who we are and have true pride in ourselves of being the children of the Lord, the chosen people of the Most High. All right, read that other article.
Okay, the other one?
Yeah, this one.
2,200-year-old coin, what is that? Horad, gives hard proof of Book of Maccabees, says archaeologists.
So the Bible tells us that at the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, everything be established in 2 Corinthians 13 and 1. Right? So this is the second witness. The first one, they excavated and they found the fortress of Antiochus. Now we're finding coins that date back to the time of Alexander that only substantiate and provides hard proof that the Book of Maccabees is valid and the histories that we read in there is all true indeed. Okay, go ahead and read a little bit of that.
Okay, archaeologists have uncovered a cache of 2,200-year-old silver coins near the Dead Sea, which they say is the first physical proof that Jews fled to the Judean desert during the upheaval and persecution under Hanukkah, villain Antiochus Epiphanes, as told in 1 Maccabees chapter 2, verse 29. In the period prior to the Maccabean revolt, righteous men were exhorted to leave everything and flee to the desert. At that time, many who sought righteousness and justice went to live in the desert. Subsequently, while upholding the laws of Shabbat, they were slaughtered by the king's forces.
Now, this is important because this is what made our people damn near be vagabonds during this time. It was outlawed to keep the laws. It was outlawed to keep the Sabbath. It was outlawed to go and try to offer sacrifice at the temples. You could not proclaim yourself to be a Jew during those times. It was outlawed and banned. You'll get put to death. You'll be jailed. You'll be enslaved. Our people that decided to stand up for themselves said, the heck with that. We're not going along with the program. If we got to go live in the caves, in the mountains, in the deserts, we're going to go do that so that we can uphold these laws. They were taking the books of the law. They was burning them. They was trying to destroy our records. Everything they was trying to do to destroy the memory of our people. As we know in let's go there in Psalms real quick. Psalms 83, one of the classics.
And one.
Yeah, Con, you can start at one.
Psalms chapter 83, verse 1. Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God.
Read on.
For lo, thy enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head.
Those that hate the Most High and hate his people have lifted up their head, and now they are laser beam focusing on trying to destroy the children of the Lord. Read on.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
So they're taking crafty counsel against us. It's pretty obvious the type of crafty counsel that they're doing against our people. We're getting falsely accused for crimes we didn't commit. Did y'all hear about that? We was talking about that earlier. Jewish man and his little son got shot at in Staten Island, New York, with some paintballs. And the head of the head of the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, Jonathan Greenblatt, said that it was some black Hebrew Israelites that did it. You heard that? And it was a damn white boy that did it. But no apology. There's nothing they can come back and say, you know what? We're very sorry for slandering the name of the black Hebrews. You know, and even saying black Hebrews, that's derogatory. But just the fact that they don't even come out and say, you can just go out there and just say they did it, slander, crafty counsel, and you can't say nothing against it. They try to blame us for it. To a brother and a sister that shot up a Jewish deli over there in New Jersey. And they said, oh, it was the black Hebrew Israelite because they seen a meme or something on their Instagram from 10 years ago. Does that mean that they was keeping the laws and the truth and they was part? No. But anything they can do to try to slander us. Crafty counsel, tampering the foods, changing up ingredients so that we can defile ourselves, changing the Sabbath day, everything that they can to try to defile us and make us not be the holy people of the Lord. They take every crafty counsel that they can, hide our history, burn the books. We're going to read about all of that today. All right, continue on.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation.
So the objective is for us to be cut off from being a nation of people. No longer are we trying to identify ourselves with our true nationality. We're calling ourselves all these other nationalities: black, Hispanic, Native American, Afro-American, Negro, colored, Creole, you name it. Everything but being the nation of the Most High God. Read on. You said what? Yeah, absolutely. Genocide, biological warfare. I mean, they're doing it all against us, man. They sterilized our women forcibly in the prison system, and they did it to the Native American women in the 70s. They're trying to cut off the seed of man. They were doing all kind of experiments with brothers that was locked up in Philly. Let alone, let's not talk Tuskegee, everything. They came against our people in massive ways, doing radiation bombing in St. Louis in the 50s, STD experiments on Guatemalans. I mean, they out here truly trying to, and have been seriously destroying our people, man. And they said they've consulted against the hidden ones, and they said, let's cut them off from being a nation. Go ahead.
That the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
So when you ask our brothers and sisters what's their nationality, is Israel ever on their mind? Well, they did a damn good job then. They ain't even thinking about Israel. They think that's a country. They don't even think about that being part of their heritage, and that's where they come from. You can ask a brother, what's your nationality? Nationality? I've seen that and had that happen to me before. Well, they be puzzled when you even ask them nationality. They don't even understand that word. That's how bad our people have fallen astray. Continue on.
They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee.
So they are confederate against us. There's no friends in this thing, man. You can't be sitting back to, oh, well, Johnny, that's the good white boy over there. No. The Lord said, don't never trust thine enemies. You got to work with them. You got to tolerate them. But most I didn't say you got to get along. You got to be best friends with them, and you got to go ahead and try to create peace treaties. Has he ever honored a peace treaty? I mean, how can you do that? Our people seeking peace in a land where nothing but blood said. America's only experienced 15 years, max 16 years of peace. And we talking about we just need peace. We just got to love each other. You know, pass the weed so we can all get high together. Weed brings us all together. No, we're not doing any of the above until we're brought together amongst ourselves. That's all I needed. That go to Jeremiah 6:16. So there's a Confederate. If you can keep reading down, you'll see all the nations that came against us. And that's very ironic, too, because I read an article last night about Slow Biden paying $55 billion to the Africans in Uganda and other Africans over there and said our greatest sin is slavery. And we share that same common bond. Didn't address the victims of slavery, didn't talk about our people over here. As we over here talking about we want reparations, Slow Biden said that you think you're not getting reparations. You the children of Israel in bondage, and we refusing to let you go. But we're going to go over here to our African counterparts who help sell you, and we're going to give them money, $55 billion, and then shake out and say, yeah, we got common ground that we enslaved the children of Israel. Now let's build. If that ain't a slap in the face, I don't know what is. Jeremiah 6:16.
Jeremiah chapter 6, verse 16. Thus says the Lord, stand ye in the ways and see and ask for the old path. Where is the good way? And walk therein, and ye shall find rest for your souls.
You see, that's what the Most High commanded us to do. He said, stand in the way. That means get up, do something. Don't sit on your butt and just be like, oh, just what it is. We just got to deal. No, you got to make change. We got to make change. That's what repenting is all about. It's about making change, right? So if the Lord told us with that we got to stand in the past and see and ask for the old past, that means we got to go back. We got to check out the history. We got to go back and actually start searching out the ways of our forefathers and our foremothers and see the true legacy that they laid down. Man, don't just sit back and wait for Roots to come on in Black History Month and sit the kids in front of the TV and say, here, watch this. That's about us. No, that's not enough. We got to actually start delving into and chopping down all the lies and the bricks that they put up in our way, because they definitely put up a whole fortress of lies that we got to break down so that we can get to the truth. It ain't going to come easy, and we can't just sit back and say whatever he gives us is the truth, because that's what they always say. It's his story, right? So we got to sit back and say, whatever you talking about, we're not dealing with that. There's something behind what you're saying. So the Lord said we got to ask for the old paths. Well, what older path can our people connect to than this? Not no Egyptian Book of the Dead. That don't have nothing to do with us. That's not our history. That's not our legacy. We don't deal in that mythology that they deal with. We're talking about hard evidences of who our people are and what was the struggle of our people. That's what we got to connect with. So it says, seek ye the old paths. Go ahead.
But they said, we will not walk therein.
You see, and that's how we know we're dealing with our people. Because we can go out there and tell our people the good path, the good way, and they say, yeah, I hear you, but I'm not doing that. What laws, Sabbath, I can't do what? That's too hard. We encounter that all the time with the Christians constantly trying to make excuses as why they will not do it. And they're supposed to be believers. Go ahead, what you got at?
Yeah, when it speaks about seek ye the old paths and the way, it's talking about Yahushua. Because in the book of St. John, chapter 14, tells you that Yahushua is the way, the truth, and the life.
Right.
And it's a beautiful thing because BOW, believers of the way, are believers in Yahushua.
Come.
So that's what he's saying. And ask for the old paths, where's the right way, the good way, and walk therein. So we're followers of Yahushua. We're disciples and servants of the Most High King of Israel. So we're following in that path. We're on that journey. We're seeking the way of Yahushua. That's why I say return back. We're returning back to the central theme of the whole entire Bible, which is Christ.
God, that's right. I'm going to read that too. St. John 14:6. It says, Yahweh saith unto him, I am the way,
Right.
the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. That's right. That's right. That's all I needed of Jeremiah. Go to Hosea 4. Hosea 4. Let's read 1 and then drop down to the 6th verse.
Hosea chapter 4, verse 1. Hear the word of the Lord, ye children of Israel.
Children of who?
Children of Israel.
So this is a specific message that's built and made for the children of Israel, man. This book is not authored to nobody but our people. Regardless of how much they want to try to fit and squeeze and want to beg to come in and be a part and graft in and This is private. Everybody can't walk through them doors. Everybody can't knock on the door and be like, oh, can we come in? It looks fun in there. No, it's not an open door policy. Invite only. So the Lord said, hear the word of the Lord, you children of Israel. Read on.
For the Lord has a controversy with the inhabitants of the land, because there is no truth, nor mercy, nor knowledge of God in the land.
So the Most High's got a serious problem, a controversy with the inhabitants of the land, because the truth is not being told. No mercy's been shown to the children of Israel. Have they shown us mercy? I mean, we see it every day, all day. We can look to the histories. We can see how they did our people. No mercy been shown. They said no knowledge of God of the land. What they give us in place of knowledge? They give us religion. They give you college degrees. They give you philosophy. They give you every manner of abominable thought process. They give us that. But when it comes down to the knowledge of God, they ain't trying to deal with it. We can praise and worship with the best of them. Every Sunday, there's no knowledge in that, though. There's plenty of feel good, plenty of emotion, plenty of grooving. But when it comes down to knowledge of Most High, to be sitting looking like, what is going on? Isaiah 33:6 says, wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times and strength of salvation. Now, if our people aren't getting knowledge, then there's a problem. That's why the Lord said, I got a real problem with what's going on. Drop down, read verse 6.
Verse 6, my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee.
So the destruction of our people comes because we lack knowledge, not because we lack wisdom. I mean, not because we lack money, not because we don't have real estate property, not because we don't know how to invest and we're not financially literate, not because we didn't graduate from college. That's not the knowledge of the Most High is talking about. He's talking about the knowledge of his word and the knowledge of self. That's why we get destroyed and get taken advantage of. Read on.
That thou shalt be no more priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God, I will also forget thy children.
We forgot about the religion of the Most High?
The law of thy God.
So again, it gets back to that law. The whole problem, and that's why you see these Presbyterian schools, Bible colleges, and they all give these people the same script, give these Negroes and Hispanics the same script to go out there with a 501c3 grant to open up a crack house on the corner and tell our people the same thing. The laws are done away with. Love everybody. Christ was white. And then when you challenge it, they get all confused and confounded, and then they start getting emotional, having hissy fits. Well, no. The Lord said that the reason why we're being destroyed is because we forgot the law of the Most High God. If you keep telling everybody the laws are done away with, you want us to continually be destroyed. You're part of the problem. And then our people, why can't you be nice to the crib? Be what they say, you get more bees with honey, and you guys got to be no, they're part of the problem. They're constantly forwarding the destruction of our people by telling them the laws are done away with when the Most High just said the problem is that you forgot about the laws, and now your children is going to pay for it. He said, I'm also going to forget thy children. So when we see our people inheriting the sins of the forefathers, when we see our people and our children being cursed, and then you sit back and wonder why the little baby got shot, you wonder why, somebody done ran over the 3-year-old running out in the middle of the street. The Lord said, I forgot. Yeah, I'm forgetting your children too. He said that we will be no priest to him. Well, the priests were the ones that was joined unto the Most High. Levi, the Hebrews law, Yah, which means joined unto me. So no longer will we be joined unto the Most High and have that connection and that priestly relationship with the Most High. I said, I'm cutting all of that off. because you forgot about the laws, you forgot about my knowledge, and now I'm going to destroy you. Let's get to the Maccabees. First Maccabees chapter 1. So we understand the history, we see the archaeology, we're understanding why these things are important. Now let's get a little history. I am going to share a couple of things on this PowerPoint. So I know we don't have a screen, but brothers and sisters, if you want to log on or you check it out on the YouTube and you can watch on your phone, you can see it that way. You can just see it on the replay on your own time. But there's a couple of things we got to show and demonstrate regarding what was going on in this history. First Maccabees, we're going to read chapter 1 and 1. We'll get right to it.
You want to share the screen now, or you want to wait?
Let's read this first, and then I'll share it.
First Maccabees chapter 1. First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 1. Okay. And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes.
Now, hold on. You know what's interesting is it says, and it happened. Well, what happened? What happened? What was prophesied to happen? Give me Job 9:24. You know what? Were you sharing right now?
No, I'm gonna share it right now.
Okay.
Getting a screenshot. Okay, now go back to where you want.
Okay.
You wanted to hit.
Yeah, you can hold it for right now before we share. Don't worry about it. We'll get it. Okay, that's cool.
Okay, and then you can make it big like you have.
Yeah, you can blow it up.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, there we go. All right, so Job 9:24. Let's read
I
that.
got that. Book of Job, chapter 9, verse 24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covered the faces of the judges thereof.
So the earth has been given. This was a prophecy that the Most High said. The earth is going to be given into the hand of the wicked. If you read and you understand about the history of the Edomites and the so-called white man, he had no real power structure, no real influence prior to what we're reading right now under Alexander. There, you don't read about no great Edomite kingdoms and them ruling. No, you hear about Egypt, you hear about Assyria, you hear about Babylon. You don't hear about no Edomite kingdoms that was ruling until when the Greeks came into power. Okay, so it says the earth has been given into the hand of the wicked. We've all, I'm sure everybody's read this and been convinced and said, we know who the wicked is. All you got to do is say, who's in control of the earth? If all lines lead back to the so-called white man, then you got to classify him as the wicked. Who's controlling the World Council of Churches? White man. Who controls the World Banks? White man. Who's the one over here running all of these crypto scams? White man. I mean, who's got military bases in over, I think they said 170 different countries. 170 different provinces in the world. Who's running all military? I mean, come on. He's running and controlling the earth. Every narrative that we see from media, sports, ownership, all of those things, land, he's in control. Okay. And you said, well, Africa is the largest continent. So what? It ain't nothing that the damn white man is in there running the show and colonizing it. You just seen, like I said, Biden had to give them $55 billion to help them with infrastructure. So they go in and they constantly are in there. The Chinese is in there. The Russians is over there. They're compromised too. So the white man is in control of the earth, no matter how you look at it. All roads lead back to him. Follow the money is all going to lead back to him. All right. So the earth's been given into the hand of the wicked. Read on.
If not, where and who is he?
So it said he covered the faces of the judges thereof. The judges of the earth is the children of Israel. Simply put, how do we know that? Because when you go to a court of law, doesn't the judge have to know the law? Who was given the law? Israel. So we're the true judges of the earth, right? The Most High said that the earth was given into the earth was made for our sakes. In Second Ezra, what's that, 6? Yeah. So we're the judges of the earth, and the ultimate judge of the earth is Christ. Did he not commit the ultimate blaspheme, vandalism by changing the depiction of our Savior and say that it was him? it looked like him, or he, come on. That's the audacity of the so-called white. He's the only one that said nobody else is willing to do it. I'll do it. I mean, is there an East Indian Christ? Have anybody seen that? You ever seen a Japanese Christ? Korean Christ? I mean, have you seen the Bangladesh looking Christ? No. The only one who had the audacity said, you know what, I'll do it, is the white man. White man said, I'll be Christ. And they're going to all bow down and worship me. So he changed the face of the judges. If not, wherein who is he? And the Most High said, well, if that don't make no sense to you, then you tell the Most High who he is. I'm not bold enough to do that. I got to go along with what the Most High revealed. So now let's go back to 1 Maccabees 1.
1 Maccabees chapter 1, verse 1. And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece.
So also what this is describing is Daniel, the 7th chapter, with the 4 beasts. And those 4 beasts are Babylon, the Persians and the Medes, the Greeks and the Romans. So when it's saying, and it happened, it's also talking about the prophecy that Daniel spoke of when the beast, the the second beast was going to be conquered by the third beast being the Greeks. The second beast is the the Persians and the Medes. So this is all part of the prophecy. And there was 4 different battles that they had to go through in order to make this this completion. So you got the Battle of Granicus. Y'all can write that down if you feel free, or it'll be on the PowerPoint. In 334 BC, read verse 2.
Verse 2, and made many wars, and slew the kings of the earth, and went through to the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations.
So here we're seeing all of the particular battles that the Greeks went through, all right? So you've got, like it's coming up slow. Okay, so you got the Battle of Issus in 332. That's when he came up against Darius. Then you got the Battle of Granicus in 334. These are the many wars that he was going through. All right. You got the Battle of Halicarnassus, which is another one in 334. So it wasn't just one particular war. They took them out. It was constant wars that they had to go through. These are the 4 main ones, the big ones that they had to go through in order to make the completion of the conquering of the and you had another one called the Battle of Gargamella. That was another one. All right. So these are the wars that was being spoken of when it said he made many wars and won many strongholds and slew the kings of the earth. Read on.
Verse 3, and went through to the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up.
So he conquered all the dark nations. He conquered all the kings of the earth, and everybody was quiet. Nobody challenged his authority. Nobody challenged his rule. And mind you, this guy was young. He was in his early 20s when he did this. So nobody rose up against him, and they said that now his heart was lifted up. So now his pride exalted him up, and eventually he got caught up in some say that he died from a venereal disease from overactivity with homosexuality or whatnot. There's other Edomite scholars that say, that he was poisoned. I'm more prone to believe the first, knowing the ways of the Greeks.
Right.
And if you see in that movie Alexander, you see how he was dealing with some of his little boy lovers or whatnot that was going on in there.
Facts.
Right. So read verse big time sodomites, man. But that show you too, man. I tell the brother, don't sleep on these sodomites, man. Some of them is tough.
Oh, they warriors.
They willing to fight for their their lifestyle and what they dealing with, man. That's why you see some of them viral videos, man. The trannies be out there fronting and jumping jakes and all of that. They got that spirit, that serious spirit of Satan on them. Drop down and read verse 6.
Verse 6. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive.
So once he was alive, he had his 4 generals that he grew up with. He parted his kingdom to them, right? So gave them all a portion. Anybody know the 4 generals off the top? Somebody help me out.
Soldiers to know this.
Oh, see, now you put on the spot. He said, y'all should know it. It's quiet.
Call somebody out there. Y'all think I can't see y'all? I see y'all.
I can't see, but you
Wild.
Give me one general. Who that? Ptolemy. Yep, there goes one. But where did he rule? Hold on. Egypt. There you go. Egypt, Cyprus, Petra. These are all his areas. Ptolemy. Who got another one? Seleucid. Where did he rule? Syria, Asia Minor, Iran, all them areas. Yep. Okay. We got two more. Cassander. Oh, there you go. Macedonia and Greece. One more. Starts with an L. Lysimachus. He ruled over Thrace, Asia Minor. All right. So these are his four generals. This is who he elected to rule over his kingdom. Let's look at a little map. Let me see. Well, here goes his if y'all can see it, you'll see his rulership. All right. So you got Seleucid, Nicator, you got Ptolemy Soter the first, Lysimachus, and Cassander as being the four generals, right? Now let's look at this map. So we just want to look and see the expansion of the Greek Empire. So if you're looking all the way over to the east, as far as India, you're going to see all the way west, going all the way to Greece. That was the expansion of the Greek Empire, all the way down into Egypt, all the way down into Africa, the interiors of northern Africa. They had a heck of a lot of land. Now, when you're looking at the division of those lands, and what's important about this is how you put together the understanding regarding the Hellenization of our people and why and how we started following after Greek ways and customs. Our people was living in all of these areas and lands and was forced to transition. So when we're reading about these lands and we're reading about these places in Corinth and Thrace and Asia Minor, and we're reading about Ephesus, these are all lands that was under the Seleucid Empire. That's why we know our people was getting turned out into following after the Greeks all the way back then. This is why hundreds of years later, when Paul and Peter and Barnabas and Mark and the rest of the brothers was going out trying to teach and get them to learn about their history, they had no idea. They was been following after Greek customs and ways for hundreds of years, generations. That's all they knew. Just like now. You had a brother, the elder brother, 90-something years old, y'all was dealing with?
Con. Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about generations of people who have no idea. And all they know is America, sharecropping, slavery, so forth and so on. And you start trying to introduce them to biblical knowledge. Oh, no, I don't know about that. What was he? He was a Christian?
Yeah. Elder, it also puts this history also puts perspective the New Testament, because when Paul was going into these areas, like I see on the map, Asia Minor and all of these areas he was going to preach the gospel, it was because of the scattering of our people during this time period. We're still there. Yeah. A lot of our people were still there that had been displaced during the time of the Greeks. So when you read about Paul going into, certain areas like Asia Minor for example, and things of that nature, it was because our people were there. It helps you understand who the Gentiles actually were that we were going to go get were actually Israelites that were displaced and became Greeks through the Hellenization. So that's real important history to understand, so you can fully understand the Gentiles in the New Testament.
That's right. Go to Acts 2 real quick. We're going to see some of these lands is already here. Acts 2. And let's read 5, and then we'll just drop down.
Okay. Acts chapter 2, verse 5. And there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven.
Now, it identified and said that these were Jews, and the Jews was dwelling in every nation under heaven. I ran into some Christian man. He tried to say that was the Jews and all the other nations was there. I said, no, it said these was Jews, right? Devout men that was in all nations. Not it was all nations and the Jews together. Knock it off. Drop down and read verse 9.
Verse 9. Parthians and Medes and Elamites.
Now hold on. You see here on the map. You see Parthia right here. Media right here. See, these are all the lands they was coming from. Go ahead.
And the dwellers of Mesopotamia, and in Judea, and in Cappadocia, and in Pontus, and in Asia.
So here, Mesopotamia down here, Judea, Judea down here. It said in Asia up here, right? All of these particular areas where our people was coming from. Go ahead.
Parphrygia, excuse me, and Pamphylia, and in Egypt, and in parts of Libya, about Cyrene, and strangers of Rome, Jews and proselytes, Cretes and Arabians. We do hear them speak in our tongues the wonderful works of God.
So that just shows you the scattering and where our people was at in all these particular lands, all of these particular areas that was all dominated earlier by the generals of Alexander. In particular, Seleucid was one of the main ones because he had one of the biggest lands of the people. All right. Jump over to verse. Go back to Maccabees. Now, I also have up here a map and what's called the Wars of the Diadochi. The Diadochi was the generals. That was their names, as a collective. And they had wars within each other, fighting for land, fighting for territory, fighting for dominance. The so-called white man is lust for power. Even if it's against his own, he doesn't care. It's who's ever on top. That's why you're seeing the battle between America, the battle between Russia and Ukraine. It's all about them fighting each other. But who's going to be the head devil? That's really what they fighting over. I want to call the shots. I want to be the head demon under Satan's control. They say, no, I do. No, the Most High is in control. But even all the way back then, they were battling each other in the wars of the Diadochi, right? So during that time, Seleucid had a vast amount of land, and they had one other general that's not as known as the others, but he had land as well. And this guy, his name was what was that guy's name? No, it was no. Is he on there? What's that guy's name? God dang it. I'm drawing a blank. It's Antigalius or something like that. I'm drawing a blank. Give me one. I'll remember as we continue on. But who? Not Antiochus. There was one other general, man. This guy named Antigalius. I think that was his name. I don't want to butcher it. It'll come to me. But nonetheless, there was one other one, and he had another landmass like up in Thrace, and Seleucid conquered him and took his land too. All right, but nonetheless, let's drop down. So we're seeing here in Maccabees 1 what was happening, the conquering of the lands. Alexander, the so-called white man, he's in control now. Job 9:24 is being fulfilled. All the nations are being subdued. His kingdom now has been conquered. I mean, his kingdom has not been divided up amongst the four generals, right? Now read on down.
Which one you want?
Read verse. You read First Maccabees 1 and 6. Read verse 7. Read 7 down to 11.
So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died, and his servants bare rule, every one in his place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth, and there came out of them a wicked root.
Now hold on. Now it said once Alexander died, they couldn't wait to throw crowns on their head and say, "I'm the king, I'm the king, I'm the king." So this is where you get the dynasties from. You hear about the Seleucid Empire, the Seleucid dynasty. You hear about the dynasty of the Ptolemies. This is where they all started ruling in their own fashion, their own way. They all had their own sections that they were ruling as kings, right? So once the main king is gone, they all slapped on crowns and said, "We're the new kings of the earth, wherever we respectfully rule." And they was having wars between each other. That's why when it said, "And many evils were multiplied in the earth," well, what happens when a so-called white man gets in control of the earth? The Bible tells us, it said evils is nothing but evil is going to be happening throughout the earth. And they're going to constantly be happening multiplied. Read on. Under Solomon, how many years of peace did we have? 40 years of peace. Our people was ruling. That's the only time the earth was experiencing long-term peace under the laws and the commandments of the Most High. White man come into rulership, nothing but evil and destruction and death, murder, mayhem, backstabbing and betrayal, lies when he's in rulership. Continue on.
And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years. And evils were multiplied in the earth. And there came out of them a wicked root. Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been an hostage at Rome, and he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks.
Now, this is interesting. It said that there was already evils was multiplied in the earth, and here they said this man came up a wicked root. I mean, how wicked could he have been if he had to be if he had to been exposed to saying now it's already evils in the earth, but this guy is wicked. I mean, I thought it was already evil. It's already wicked times. That means he was set above the standard that was already going on. He went above and beyond the call of duty when it came down to carrying out wickedness. All right, give me hold on, give me Proverbs 28:4.
Book of Proverbs chapter 28 and verse 4. They that forsake the law praise the wicked, but such as keep the law contend with them.
Now watch this. Read verse 11 of Maccabees.
First Maccabees chapter 1 verse 11. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us, for since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow.
So the scriptures just got through saying, they that forsake the law praise the wicked. So keep that in mind when you're hearing about people talking about don't keep the law, we don't need the law, blah, blah, blah. No man can be saved by the law. The Lord said those individuals love wickedness. That's why they say that. Now we're hearing about wicked men that came up out of Israel, our own people, who praised the wicked and said, well, we need to convince our people to make a covenant with the heathen, and let's be and be as the heathen. Because since the heathen are being controlled, we have much sorrow. So they thinking that being in league with the heathen is going to make things better. Like that's going to liberate them. There's no negotiating with the beast. You can't negotiate with the devil, man. He's going to constantly take advantage of you and pull a trick on you and have you constantly seduced and gone. But our people saying, well, let's make a league with him. Let's figure this thing out. Read on.
Verse 12. So this device pleased them well. Then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen, whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem, according to the customs of the heathen, and made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief.
So here our people are. This is where you start seeing the beginning of the Hellenization. They were following after the Greek customs and the ways. When it's saying they made themselves uncircumcised, meaning they stopped following the laws. Didn't mean that a grown man went and tried to have some surgical procedure to try to get some skin, sewn back on. No, it's talking about them forsaking the laws, forsaking the covenant, join themselves to the heathen. They're going to the gymnasiums. If you look at the etymology, you look at the word about gymnasium to tell you a place of exercise where they was exercising naked. So this is when you're seeing all these particular things that was happening. Our people was joining in and partaking in all of this, leaving off the laws and following after the way. I may mention this some time ago. When I was young watching wrestling, you thinking this is real, you thinking it's cool. But then when you look at it as a grown man, you saying these dudes was running around with boots and Speedo drawers on with elbow pads and knee pads greased up,
wrestling on each other.
Wrestling with each other, man, body slamming and flopping on each other and all of that stuff, man. I'm like, this was I was watching this. It's a grown man's, what do you call it, soap opera? You watch Hulk Hogan said this about Macho Man. And you're like, what? Oh, I got to watch next week. Y'all laughing, but you know, especially you brother be trying. I ain't watch wrestling. You lying. But when you
Every
see it
brother
now,
in here watch
everybody
wrestling.
done seen
Every
that.
brother in here watch wrestling.
You ate your vitamins and said your prayers with Hulk Hogan. You know what I'm talking about.
What's so cold about What's so cold about it? They got their image of Superman. He wears pantyhose too.
That's it. All the dang superheroes
All the
got
superheroes.
leotards on and
Leotard.
drawers over
They're
them. You know, looking
Superman.
crazy.
They're Superman.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
But that's how they,
Spider-Man.
but that's how they get us. You know what I'm saying? But this is what the heathen was doing and showing our people, hey, go in here and wrestle with us. You said, well, you guys ain't got no clothes on. Yeah, that's right. Come on in. Some of y'all been if you ever been to them gyms, you'll see some of them Edomites in there naked in the damn steam rooms and all. That's why I don't go to the gyms all that no more. I used to see them old Edomites and all that butt naked in there. You like, what the man, put some clothes on, man. What's up with you? And they up, what? Come on in. And you're like, nah, I'm not coming in. I'm out of here, man. That's what they be doing. Jump over to we're gonna read about a couple of these Uncle Tom Jews, man, that sold our people out. But first of all, let's read in First Maccabees, the second chapter. Start at verse 1.
You said First Maccabees?
First Maccabees 1. I mean, Shalakia, chapter 2, verse 1. Actually, before we go there, stay in chapter 1. Drop down and read verse 41.
Okay. First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 41.
No, Shalakia.
No, you good.
Read 17 down to 21.
Con.
And then we're going to jump over to 40.
First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 17. Wherefore he entered into Egypt with great multitude and with chariots and elephants and horsemen and a great navy, and made war against Ptolemy, king of Egypt. But Ptolemy was afraid of him and fled, and many were wounded to death.
So this is talking about Antiochus. He was going down into Ptolemy, went down into Egypt. He wanted to go kill and take over Egypt, right? So Ptolemy, he fled up out of there. He said, I'm not messing with this dude. That's a wicked root. This dude is like next level Hannibal Lecter type stuff. I'm not messing with him. He fled up out of there. Right? Read on.
Thus they got the strong cities in the land of Egypt, and he took the spoils thereof. And after that Antiochus had smitten Egypt, he returned again in the 143rd year, and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude, and entered proudly into the sanctuary, and took away the golden altar and the candlestick of light and all the vessels thereof.
So that's when they went into the temple and they started desecrating our temple. Okay, so they started taking all of the holy vessels out. They started ramshacking it, just turning it into a heathenistic temple of worship under Zeus. Okay, that's all I needed that, man. Let's drop down for time's sake. Drop down and read verse 41.
Verse 41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws.
Oh, he wants a new world order, huh? Everybody, one rule, one king, one language, one currency, everybody following under one rule, one law. That was all going on back then, really going all the way back to Nimrod. But it's always been the plan of the so-called white man to have everybody follow after him one way. So he said, moreover, he wrote to the whole kingdom, everybody's going to be one people. Well, doesn't that sound like Christianity too? We're all the same. We all bleed the same blood. We all come from Adam. That means never want to make the establishment of separation. Go ahead.
And it also lets you know that America is modern day Greek, Rome too, because what do you have on the back of your dollar bill or your coins? E pluribus unum, right? Mm-hmm. Out of one comes many. And that's the same thing that they were doing back here during the times of the Greeks. So we're on the Greek rule, Roman rule, Babylon, all of that. So that we see that the earth has been given into the hand of the wicked ever since they came on the throne, since 333 BC.
That's right. Go ahead and continue.
What verse was that?
Pick it up 41 again.
Okay. Yeah. Moreover, verse 41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion.
And it said all the heathen had no problem. They dropped all their customs and their ways, their names, their religious forms of practice and worship. They dropped it all. And they said, you know what? We're going to be as the Greeks. No more negotiate. We're not going to put up no fuss. And it said many of the Israelites did the same thing. This is where we're seeing Hellenization happening. Go ahead.
And sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath.
They went all the way left. They was all in. Started sacrificing unto idols, sacrificing swine's flesh, the most abominable flesh that could be eaten, touched, or whatever in Israelite dietary law. And the white man said, if you really want to pledge your allegiance to me, sacrifice the swine's flesh on this altar. And our people was like, where? When? Give me the lighter. Coons. Read on.
For the king has sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days and pollute the sanctuary and holy people.
Can you imagine? What we're doing right now would be outlawed. They said that we had to profane the Sabbath. That lets you know, man, the heathen be knowing our Sabbaths. You know, they like, man, the Sabbath is what keep them locked in with their power. The Most High said 6 days you labor, the 7th day rest, reconnect with me, man, reconnect with fellow believers, unite in the spirit, get back engaged with your book and your law. Because I know 6 days you preoccupied, you running around, you trying to, survive. And I ain't always on your mind, but by that 7th day, I need to be on your mind. Let's reconnect. Let's recharge. The heathen said, don't let them do that. Keep them distance from their father. Profane the Sabbath day and the festival days that y'all was keep. That's out. No more of that. Now what? You got Christmas, New Year's, 4th of July. You can have Martin Luther King. You can have all them other days. But them festival days that the Bible speaks of, don't do it. Go ahead.
And pollute the sanctuary and holy people, set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beast, that they should also leave their children uncircumcised, and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation.
Profanation. So it said now they had to cut off or stop the act of circumcision, which means what? Now our men will be cut off from the covenant that was made with our forefather Abraham and partaking in the law of the covenant with circumcision. So they said now even that was taken away. So they knew what they was doing by cutting us off from being one with the Most High again. Go ahead.
To the end they might forget the law and change all the ordinances, and whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die.
Now, this is around 168 BC. Has all of these methods still been effective in 2022? The white man is cold, man. He's got a cold blueprint to where all the way up until now, our people have forgotten about the laws of the Most High, forgot about the festival days of the Most High, forgot about who they are, following after the commandments of our oppressors more than we follow after the commandments of the Most High, changed all the ordinances. Now we're following after all these other ordinances except for the ordinances of the book of the law. All of that was a blueprint for our people to be destroyed. Drop down, read verse 53.
Verse 53, and drove the Israelites into secret places, even wheresoever they could flee for succor.
For succor, for comfort, and for protection. So that's what we was reading about earlier with that article where it said that the children of Israel were fleeing out into the deserts and fleeing out to landscapes where nobody was dwelling at because they was on the run. Our people was rebellious and revolted and had to move and get up out of there. All right. Drop down, read verse 57.
Verse 57. And wheresoever was found with any the book of the testament, or if any consented to the law, the king's commandment was that they should put him to death.
So you were getting put to death if you was found with any books of the law. You had a Bible under your arm. You had the testament of the law, the Torah in your hand. You was getting put to death. If it was found in your homes, you was getting put to death. Read on.
Thus did they by their authority unto the Israelites every month, to as many as were found in the cities. Now the 25th day of the month they did sacrifice upon the idol altar, which was upon the altar of God, at which time, according to the commandment, they put to death certain women that had caused their children to be
You
circumcised.
see what happened even with our sisters, man. Our sisters were standing strong for the law and said, my son, he's going to be circumcised. 8th day, we following after it. We're going to stay under the covenant. They knew that they was risking their lives in order to do that. Remember, we just got the reading in these articles. This is real history, man. Our sisters was dying to make sure that their sons was put under the bond of the covenant. And we supposed forget about all of that. We're supposed to forget about the sacrifices that was made. I'm not forgetting. Read on.
And they hung the infants about their necks and rifled their houses and slew them that had circumcised them.
You see that they was running raids into people's houses, snatching up the babies, hanging them up. They was doing the same thing when the Spaniards came over here and conquered the indigenous tribes. I know Ryan was going over the devastation of the Indies and all of the from Columbus to Castro, all them books, man, talking about how the Spaniards did our people, having contests to see if they can slice a person in half with one swing of the sword, killing babies, dashing them against the stones. And we just supposed to say, oh, that was in the past, man. This is 2022. Let's leave that alone. No, we can't leave that alone. That's why the Most High says, seek ye the old paths, so we can see and understand and know exactly who we dealing with. Read on.
Howbeit many in Israel were fully resolved and confirmed in themselves not to eat any unclean thing, wherefore they chose rather to die, that they might not be defiled with meats, and that they might not profane the holy covenant. So then they died, and they were, and there was very great wrath upon Israel.
So it was great wrath upon Israel, man. You read some of the history books that talk about it. They had all of the nations was confederate together. So it wasn't just the Greeks. Our neighbors that could have been Elam, our neighbors that could have been Ham, our neighbors, they all was coming against us too, reporting us, turning us in, assaulting us, coming against us, all because they wanted to brown nose the Greeks. They wanted brownie points. But oh, I got a couple over here, boss. Tracking them down, dragging us in, telling on us. You know, that's what they do now. They have that law that say, you see something, say something. You know, your neighbor looking over the wall, seeing what you're doing. I got one over here. You know, they got the water laws right now. I think some of the restrictions. They telling you, tell on your neighbor if you see him watering his lawn too long, so that we can find him. They doing all of that stuff. Same thing, man. Same thing going on. Drop down chapter 2, verse 1.
Chapter 2, verse 1. In those days arose Mattathias, the son of John, the son of Simeon, a priest of the son of Jorib, from Jerusalem, and dwelt in Modin. And he had 5 sons. Johan called Caddis, Simon called Thassi, Judas, who is called Maccabeus, Eleazar called Avaran, and Jonathan, whose surname was Ephesus.
So here's Mattathias, and these are all Levitical priests coming from the line of the priesthood, right? Him and his 5 sons were the leaders that took a stand against the Greeks and against the heathen that was round about. They were upholding the laws, and they were keeping everybody protected that stood strong for the laws of the Most High. So they created a coalition and said, look, if you're going to keep the laws of the Most High, fall up underneath of us, we're going to create defenses against these heathens, man. Matter of fact, we're going to plot on how we're going to get our temple back. Drop down and read verse 18.
Verse 18. Now therefore, come thou first and fulfill the king's commandment, like as all the heathen have done, yea, and the men of Judah also, and such as remain at Jerusalem.
So one of the king's officers came. They was going to make their rounds. They was going around collecting tribute. They was going around making sure that all the districts were still sacrificing, doing unrighteous sacrifices and whatnot. So he approached Mattathias. Mattathias is over there in Modin, and he's the head of the city over there. So we said, now, Mattathias, come on and fulfill the king's commandment, like all the heathen have done. He wanted him to go out there and make sacrifices, unrighteous sacrifice. So he said, ye men of Judah also, and such as remain at Jerusalem, so shalt thou and thy house be in the number of the king's friends. So do you see how, the white man always trying to play for favor? That's how, how people say, oh, we can be a friend of the king. We're going to get some favor from him. I'll do it. Worshiping after the white man, that ain't get us nowhere. So let's see if this brother did that.
Verse 19. And Mattathias answered and spake with a loud voice, though all the nations that are under the king's dominion obey him, and fall away every one from the religion of their fathers, and give consent to his commandments, yet will I and my sons and my brethren walk in the covenant of our fathers.
See, that he got that from what was it, Joshua 24, which said, as for me and my house, we're gonna follow after the Most High and the laws. He said the same thing. He said, but he barked on him. He said with a loud voice. He come up trying to seduce him. He said, you can be a king. You're gonna be a friend of the king. You're gonna have silver and gold and many rewards. All you got to do is go ahead on and make the sacrifice, man. Make all the men of Judea follow after us, man. Don't you want that? Don't you want riches? Don't you want the glory? Don't you want all the prestige that comes along with being a follower along with the Greeks? And he must have got up and said, I'm not gonna yell, but he yelled on him and said, man, I don't give a damn what the rest of the heathen did. They gave up all their laws and everything. Me and mine, we keeping the laws of the Most High God. Now what? Read on.
Verse 21. God forbid that we should forsake the law and the ordinances. We will not hearken to the king's words to go from our religion, either on the right hand or the left. Now, when he had left speaking these words, there came one of the Jews in the sight of all to sacrifice on the altar which was at Modin, according to the king's commandment. Which thing, when Mattathias saw, he was inflamed with zeal, and his reins trembled. Neither could he forbear to show his anger according to the judgment. Wherefore he ran and slew him upon the altar.
You see how cold that was? He said he couldn't withhold his anger, man. He was so mad. His reins was trembling. Like he was inflamed so much. The only thing that was going to satisfy him and cool him down was to kill that brother that turned into a Uncle Tom and a coon and said, man, Mattathias, look out. I'll do it. I want the riches. I want the gold. I want the glory. I want the rewards of the king. What's the big deal? And Mattathias said, man, I just stood up here in defense of our people and our nation, how down we are for our laws. And you come right behind me and say, I'm not with it.
That's like Charles Barkley and what, Shannon Sharp.
Yeah.
And who else? Stephen A.
Shaq, Stephen A. All them cats.
All them coons that got mad at Kyrie for posting a video. Them gonna be the same people that come against you for keeping your feast days in the wilderness.
That's right.
Well, they say everybody's back, right? there's nothing new under the sun.
Here.
How you 7 foot and a coward? That's crazy to me. You 7 foot scary like that.
Ain't that something?
How that happened? Huh? Yeah,
he did.
Crazy.
He sure did. And then he sat back and said, he don't care.
What year was that when we was at the was it the BT Awards or was it was some type of awards or somewhere we was at, and a basketball player walked by us. I don't know if you remember that. And it was a small little Jew man. Yeah.
Oh,
Kareem. And a small little Jew man came with like, no, don't talk to them.
So did.
Yeah, y'all gave him the literature.
Yeah.
A small little dude, and took it from him.
Yeah.
Took it from y'all know how tall Kareem is, right? Took it from him and gave it right back.
Sure did. That's so you they got handlers and controllers, man.
That's why I be like, don't get tough with your own and you scared of the white man.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That's a fact. So the war is on now. Bloodshed has now happened between our own and amongst the Greeks. Let's jump over. You know what? I did want to read about a couple of these coons, man. Got our people sold out. Jump over to First Maccabees. I want to read chapter 7. Is it 7? Hold on.
7.
Yeah, let's read 7. And let's read 5. Read 5 down to 10.
First Maccabees chapter 7, verse 5. There came unto him all the wicked and ungodly men of Israel, having Alchemist, who was desirous to be high priest, for their captain.
Now remember, there was wicked Jews that was amongst our people that was persuading the people to become as Greeks. They was in high positions of authority. Now this guy Alcimus was lusting for power, and here he is. He's getting ready to try to set up our people for death and destruction, just so that he could be high priest,
Crazy.
which is only a position that was given to him by the so-called white man. Wasn't given to him by the Most High. Wasn't given to him by bloodline. They was fighting, lusting over power. If White Zaddy says you could be the high priest this year, boy, do my bidding, and they would do it. So he wanted to be high priest. Go ahead.
It says, verse 6, and they accused the people to the king, saying, Judas and his brethren have slain all thy friends and driven us out of our own land. Now therefore send some men whom thou trustest, and let him go and see what havoc he hath made among us and in the king's land, and let him punish them with all them that aid them. Then the king chose Bacchus, a friend of the king, who ruled beyond the flood.
Did you hear what he said? He said, anybody, Judas and his brethren have slain all thy friends and driven us out of our own land. Remember, what was that, Stephen from Django? What they were talking about? We sick, boss? You sick, but we sick? How they talk about us when he's a Jew, want to be a high priest, and he's talking about how Judas has driven us out. Now to say he's a white man now. That's how close the allegiances was when they wanted to be like the damn white man and following after the Greeks. Complete sellouts in Uncle Tom's. So now he's snitching and talking about how bad Judas is doing them in war, and he's saying we got to go kill this nigga. Basically, is what he's telling them. We against his own. Go ahead.
And was a great man in the kingdom, and faithful to the king, and him he sent with that wicked alchemist, whom he made high priest, and commanded that he should take vengeance of the children of Israel.
So he got what he wanted. He was made king. He was made high priest and put over having vengeance against the children of Israel. Read verse 10.
So they departed and came with a great power into the land of Judah, where they sent messengers to Judas and his brethren with peaceable words deceitfully.
Peaceable words deceitfully. So that's going to get into one of our next feasts coming up later, which is the Feast of Nicanor. We'll get into that history in the near future, right? But I just want to pull out some of those wicked men that was convincing and going after our people. Jump over to 2 Maccabees, the 4th chapter. And let's read the first verse.
2 Maccabees chapter 4, verse 1. Okay. 2 Maccabees chapter 4, verse 1. This Simon now, of whom we spake afore, having been a betrayer of the money and his country, slandered Onias as if he had terrified Heliodorus, and been the worker of these evils.
Now, so they were spoken of before. Jump over to chapter 3. Move over one page. Chapter 3. And let's read verse 4.
Chapter 3, 2 Maccabees chapter 3 and verse 4. But one Simon of the tribe of Benjamin, who was made governor of the temple, fell out with the high priest about disorder in the city.
So Onias, if you read the first verse, he was a righteous man. He was keeping the laws. He was putting order back into Israel. Now you see that even outside of the Levitical priesthood, you had some that was trying to be high priest, like this man Simon. It said he was of the tribe of Benjamin and the governor of the temple. Now this is another one of the wicked guys that was in cahoots with trying to overthrow the priesthood. Drop down and read verse 10, 10 down to 13.
Verse 10. Then the high priest told him that there was such money laid up for the relief of widows and fatherless children, and that some of it belonged to Hyrcanus, son of Tobias, a man of great dignity, and not as that wicked Simon had misinformed. The sum whereof in all was 400 talents of silver and 200 of gold.
So this guy, Simon, he was like a chancellor of Seleucid Empire. That's why when we read in chapter 4, verse 1, it said that he was a betrayer of the money. This guy was lusting after money. He was wicked. And he was stealing money. He was making up false accusations about Onias was stealing money. He was the one that was actually taking money, right? So this is what he was doing. You know, you got them jakes, it's all about the money, all about their coins, willing to betray and backstab their own people as much as they can get some money up out of it. So he was one that was after the money and he wanted power. All right, drop down and read down to verse 13.
Verse 12.
Yeah, 12 and 13.
And that it was altogether impossible that such wrong should be done unto them, that he committed to the holiness of the place, and to the majesty of and inviolable sanctity of the temple, honored over all the world. But Heliodorus, because of the king's commandment given him, said that in any wise it must be brought into the king's treasury.
So this is where they were talking about the controversy with the money, and Simon was the one that was over here stashing the money and setting up Onias, trying to be him, having been accused of being unrighteous with the money and the offerings that was going to be sent to the Greeks. So he was trying to get him taken out of power so that he can come up and be the ruler. So jump over to chapter 4 and verse 1. So this is all the backstabbing that was going on amongst our own people, all waiting for power. All this was going on at the time that our people was trying to stay in the laws and the commandments and get our temple back. Read chapter 4 and verse 1 again.
Second Maccabees chapter 4 verse 1. This Simon, now of whom we spake afore, having been a bewrayer of the money and of his country, slandered Onias as if he had terrified Heliodorus and been the worker of these evils.
Go ahead.
Thus was he bold to call him a traitor that had deserved well of the city, and tendered his own nation, and was so zealous of the laws. But when their hatred went so far that by one of Simon's faction murders were committed.
So people that was down with Simon, murders were starting to be committed. They starting to kill for power over here. I mean, you talking about like mafia type, stuff going on. This is what was going on, battling for the priesthood. But these was wicked men that was doing this stuff to the righteous. Drop down and read verse 7 down to 10.
Verse 7. But after the death of Seleucus, when Antiochus called Epiphanes took the kingdom, Jason, the brother of Onias, labored underhand to be high priest, promising unto the king by intercession 360 talents of silver, and of another revenue 80 talents. Beside this, he promised to assign 150 more, if he might have license to set him up a place for exercise.
So now he wants to try to pay his way into position. So he said he's going to promise to the king by intercession 360 talents of silver and another revenue of 80 talents if he was to be made high priest. Now it said, and he promised that he was going to make a place of exercise. Well, we just got to see him about the gymnasiums. He said, well, I'm a definitely recruit, our young Jew men out here to be part of, the Greek games, to go out there and perform for you. So we'll get the place of exercise lined up. Go ahead.
And for the training up of youth in the fashions of the heathen, and to write them of Jerusalem by the name of Antiochans.
And that was the name that they was going to adopt. This is how you know that they even changed the names. So no longer were they going to be, he said that was going to be the team name. They're going to be the Antiochans. It's just like the Olympics, you know. You get Jakes out here running track and weightlifting and boxing and everything else, all for America.
USA versus Africa.
There you go.
USA versus China. All
Now-
Jake, USA.
That's right. So when they had the Greek games, the Antiochans, you got a little army of Jakes, athletic, all set up by this wicked priest that devoted them into this particular deal. Go ahead.
Which when the king had granted and he had gotten into his hand the rule, he forthwith brought his own nation to the Greekish fashion.
So drop down, read verse 13.
Verse 13. Now such was the highest of Greek fashions, an increase of heathenish manners through the exceeding profaneness of Jason, that ungodly wretch, and no high priest, that the priests had no courage to serve any more at the altar, but despising the temple and neglecting the sacrifices, hasted to be partakers of the unlawful allowance of the place of exercise.
The unlawful. Now, this guy's a high priest. And having our people commit to unlawful acts. Right? Read on.
After the game of discus
Discus.
called them forth.
You seen that? Y'all seen that sport before in the Olympics where they spin around, they throw the discus in the distance? That's what they was doing. Okay. Just you read up to verse 15. I'm gonna read this real quick after that.
Not setting by the honors of their fathers, but liking the glory of the Grecians best of all.
You hear? They completely sold out. No longer was they honoring the ways of their forefathers no more. They like the Greeks better now. Now I'm gonna read about Jason real quick. It says Jason flourished in the 2nd century BCE, the Hellenistic Jewish high priest, and from 175 to 172 BCE. In Jerusalem under the Seleucid king Antiochus IV Epiphanes. By promising greater tribute to Antiochus, he obtained the high priesthood, and scorning the traditional Jewish monotheism of the Pharisaic party, promoted Greek culture and religion throughout Judea and Palestine. When Antiochus retired to Jerusalem after his expulsion from Egypt by the Romans and began a violent purge of all Judaic practices, Jason was displaced by Menelaus, another Hellenizing Jew, after an unsuccessful attempt to regain the high priesthood by capturing Jerusalem in 170. Jason was forced to flee Asia Minor. Drop down and read verse 32 and 33 so we can read. So after Jason, Menelaus comes in. It was constantly wicked sellout Uncle Toms after Uncle Toms that they kept lining up to get our people following after the ways of the Greeks. They was all set up. So you can say from TD Fakes to, Creflo, Cash Flow Dollar, and then you going on over there to Jamal Bryant. You just name all of them. Go from one to the next, from the frying pan into the fryer. Read about Menelaus real quick in 32 and 33.
I like that. Cash flow dollars.
Cash Flow Dollar.
That's a new one.
The same man talking about I was wrong about tithing. Now he's talking about just be about what did he say? It's not tithing anymore, but it's about generous offerings. Or generous, some foolishness, man.
Crazy.
Ain't nobody left that church yet. He came out and said, I was wrong about tithing. I didn't have to understand. 30 plus years you've been preaching. You talking about you didn't understand tithes. You wasn't qualified to be teaching then.
Right.
And then switched it up and said, oh, it's about generous giving, generous offerings now. He had to make sure you had generous in there, though. You dig what I'm saying? This dude is wicked as heck. Go ahead.
31.
Yeah. 31, 32.
2 Maccabees chapter 4, verse 31. Then came the king in all haste.
I'm sorry. Did I say 31?
Yeah.
No, I want what did I say? 32 and 33.
Oh, okay, 4.
Yeah.
Second
Well, I mean, you
Maccabees
can read 31 down to 30. It doesn't matter.
It's on y'all can start 32.
Go ahead.
Verse 32. Now, Menelaus, supposing that he had gotten a convenient time, stole certain vessels of gold out of the temple.
Stole. Go ahead.
and gave some of them to
Andronicus.
Andronicus,
hmm
and some he sold into
Do
Tyrus.
you see what these guys was doing? Stealing gold and stealing the vessels out of the temple and slanging them to the heathen.
Crazy.
These was high men in Israel, appointed high priests by the dang Greeks, and they in there robbing and stealing, hustling, getting money. Sound familiar? Go ahead.
And the cities round about, which when Onias knew of a surety, he reproved them and withdrew himself into the sanctuary at Daphne.
So now we're seeing everything that was going on. Jump over to First Maccabees 4. Let's wrap it up. I mean, it's hard to discuss all of this history in one sitting in a class. I mean, this could take weeks to break down all of this. I encourage everybody, if you haven't already, read the first and second books of Maccabees to get a greater understanding about the history and what was going on during this time, right? First Maccabees, the fourth chapter, and let's go. No, I'm sorry. Third chapter. No, do I want the third? No, Shalaki. You go to 4.
First Maccabees 4.
Yeah. I was gonna start a little early, but that's cool. First Maccabees chapter 4, and let's start up at verse 36, and then we're gonna read down.
First Maccabees chapter 4, verse 36. Then said Judas and his brethren, behold, our enemies are discomforted. Let us go up to cleanse and dedicate the sanctuary.
So knowing and seeing everything that was going on, the corruption of the priesthood, the violating of the temple, the opposite, I mean the oppression that our enemies and the Greeks was doing to our people. So Judas, the son of Mattathias, organized the army. And these was men that was farmers. These were men that really wasn't skilled in war. Some was, but for the most part, everybody that was assembled, they was fighting through the spirit of the Lord. You're going up against highly trained Greeks, outnumbered, outpositioned in many arenas, and they had like 11 wars against them. And here you are, men that was fighting just through the spirit of the Lord, man, and the desire for their people and the love for their people and for their laws, wound up beating another, case of David and Goliath, so to speak, right? So it said now that the Greeks was discomfited, Judas said what?
Let us go up to cleanse and dedicate the sanctuary.
So now they got the temple back. After it was being ransacked and destroyed by the heathen, disrespected and dishonored, they finally won the territory back to get the temple back. Okay, go ahead.
Upon this, all the hosts assembled themselves together and went up into Mount Zion. And when they saw the sanctuary desolate, and the altar profaned, and the gates burned up, and the shrubs growing in the courts as in a forest, or in one of the mountains, yea, and the priests' chambers pulled down, they rent their clothes and made great lamentation and cast ashes upon their heads.
When they seen the state that the temple was in, man, they couldn't do nothing but lament, cry, mourn, because this was a great monument that was made for the Most High. That was supposed to be a dwelling place for the Most High, for the altar, for the sacrifices to be made, for all the holy vessels to be in. And now we're seeing, and they looked at it and they said, man, look what they did to the Lord's temple, man. If we knew and understood all the work that went into it, all the donations that happened during the time of Solomon, and then after that, during the time of Nehemiah and Ezra, they said, man, look what they did to this place. That's like if the school here, man, if you came in and you seen windows all busted out, they spray paint nigger all over the place and spicks and get out, and somebody done took a poop over in the corner, y'all would come in here and be like, damn, look what they did to the school, man. Mad, but at the same time, your first reaction is going to be like, God dang, man, look what they did. So imagine the spirit that they had on them, man. You talking about the holy temple of the Lord that just got completely taken advantage of and ran down by the heathen. Desecrated. Come, go ahead.
And fell down flat to the ground upon their faces, and blew an alarm with the trumpets, and cried towards heaven. Then Judas appointed certain men to fight against those that were in the fortress until he had cleansed the sanctuary.
So he had to set up armed guards, man, to protect the temple as they was fighting against any intruders that was trying to come in to stop the progress of the temple being rededicated back to the Most High. Go ahead.
So he chose priests of blameless conversation, such as had pleasure in the law.
So he had to screen and make sure that there was priests that was blameless, that took pride in the laws of the Most High. Because remember, you seen all them priests, Menelaus, Jason, all these cast men that was wicked. They could be coming in, Alcimist, y'all dedicating the temple? Can I help? They'd be like, man, you put him to death, trying to creep in. So he had to screen out, make sure he had blameless men of conversation, priests of the Lord who took pleasure in the law, because that was what was going to be next, is to teach our people the laws again. Read on.
Who cleansed the sanctuary and bear out the defiled stones into an unclean place. And when, as they consulted what to do with the altar of burnt offering, which was profaned, they thought it best to pull it down, lest it should be a reproach to them, because the heathen had defiled it, wherefore they pulled it down.
You see that? They didn't half step at all. They didn't get lazy and be like, man, the altar still look kind of in decent shape, man. We just gonna clean it off. They said, heck no. Swine was getting sacrificed and all kind of manner of abomination. We're not doing that. Tear it all down. We'll rebuild it. Go ahead.
And laid up stones in the mountain of the temple in a convenient place, until there should come a prophet to show what should be done with them. Then they took whole stones according to the law, and built a new altar according to the former, and made up the sanctuary and the things that were within the temple, and hallowed the courts. They made also new holy vessels, and into the temple they brought the candlestick and the altar of burnt offerings and of incense and the table. And upon the altar they burned incense, and the lambs that were upon the candlesticks they slaughtered, that they might give light in the temple. Salakia. Furthermore, they set the loaves upon the table, and spread out the veils, and finished all the works which they had begun to make.
Now the imposters of our people, they say that this history was involved with they found a menorah and a little bit of oil, and they lit it, and it stayed lasted for 8 days. Where's that at? And they got a 9-branch menorah. I mean, they need to knock it off. They have made it all kind of foolishness, man. They said that all they did was they went back in and rededicated it and made it according to the same ways that was done during the time of the Exodus. In Exodus, what was it, 28, 26, where they was out there rebuilding the temple. They looked at Nehemiah, they looked at Ezra, they saw how Solomon rebuilt the temple. They said they had to get rid of all of the desecrated stones, get rid of them. They brought in holy stones to do things right. So it said that they made new holy vessels into the temple, brought in the candlestick and the altar, the burnt offerings, and incense on the table. Go ahead.
Furthermore, they set the loaves upon the table, and spread out the veils, and finished all the works which they had begun to make. Now on the 25th day of the 9th month, which is called the month Caslu, in the 148th year, they rose up betimes in the morning, and offered sacrifices according to the law upon the new altar of burnt offering.
So according to our calendar, today would be the 9th month, 25th day of the month. This is the holy day that the Most High sanctified and said, this is the day that you keep in commemoration of recognizing what your forefathers and foremothers did when it came back to recognizing how we had to destroy our enemies, get back our temple, rededicate it back so that we can worship the Most High in spirit and in truth. 9th day, 25th day of the month. We ain't talking December 25th. That's the heathen. That's how the heathen try to manipulate things. Oh, it is the 25th in December. Yeah, we keeping Christmas. No. November, not November, the 9th month. Right? Go ahead.
Which they had made. Verse 54. Look at what time and what day the heathen had profaned it. Even in that was it dedicated with songs and cisterns and harps and shambles. Then all the people fell upon their faces, worshiping and praising the God of heaven, who had given them good success. And so they kept the dedication of the altar 8 days, and offer burnt offerings, with gladness and sacrifice the sacrifice of deliverance
So
and
this is the
praise.
8-day feast, 8-day celebration, and it said what we were supposed to. It said, look at what time and what day the heathen had profaned it. So that was what we were supposed to be remembering, is about the day, the time, and what the heathen did. So it gave us the ordinance, 8 days. It said song, dance, we supposed to quote unquote turn up
8 days.
for 8 days. We used to do that back in the days, man. And Jakes was tapping out after like day 3 and day 2.
Yeah, couldn't do it.
But that's how the Most High, like, man, I know my people. I know they like to get busy. I'm gonna give you all the time you want to party and all of that. And then sometimes we be like, you ask for too much. They be like, you coming to the bar? Nah.
That's because Esau be wearing us out.
Yeah, that's true.
Esau be
That's
wearing
true.
us out. Jake be coming to the party tired
Yeah,
from work.
straight just off of work.
Jake ain't going
Yeah,
because of work.
That's true.
Esau
That's
be wearing us
absolutely
out,
true.
man.
Wearing out the saints of the Most High. Let's finish that up.
Which one? Verse 59.
Just read all the way to read verse 57 and then read down to 61.
Verse 57. They decked also the forefront of the temple with crowns of gold and with shields and with gates, and the chambers they renewed and hung doors upon them.
So they spared no expense, man. They broke out the gold. They fortified it with shields. They put up the gates. They got the chambers renewed. Everything was good. Go ahead.
Thus was there very great gladness among the people, for that the reproach of the heathen was put away.
Great reproach was put away, man. The heathen was done away. We got rid of them. Go ahead.
Moreover, Judas and his brethren with the whole congregation of Israel ordained that the days of dedication of the altar should be kept in their season from year to year by the space of 8 days.
So it was made to be a memorial and remembrance, and we're supposed to keep this dedication every year in this season. So 9th month, 25th day of the month should always be in wintertime. Give me that in John 10:22. That's why the season was made known. Because if you're not keeping it, if you're keeping Feast of Dedication in the fall, you're off. You said we're going to keep it in the summertime. No, you're off. That's the wrong season. John 10:22.
Book of St. John, chapter 10, verse 22. And it was at Jerusalem, the feast of the dedication. And it was winter.
And it was when?
It was winter.
So that's the season that dedication should be in. And Yahweh Shai kept dedication and observed it and acknowledged it all the way in the New Testament. Okay, let's jump on back and finish that up in Maccabees 4.
Verse 59. Moreover, Judas and his brethren with the whole congregation of Israel ordained that the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season from year to year by the space of 8 days from the 25th day of the month Caslu with mirth and gladness.
With mirth and gladness. So that's the spirit that we should be having this evening and for the next 7 days after this. Mirth and gladness, man. Giving all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High. Continue on. We're going to finish it up to verse 61.
At that time also they built up the Mount Zion with high walls and strong towers round about, lest the Gentiles should come and tread it down as they had done before. And they set there a garrison to keep it, and fortified Beth Shurah to preserve it, that the people might have a defense against Idumea.
Against Idumea, man, the Edomites, man. We always trying to keep them out of our dang business, man. We had to fight against them. Our people sacrificed great measures. Babies was killed, the whole nine, man, in order for us to keep this day to day, to have this book, have this word. Let's give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High in Christ for this day.
All praises. And if I may, can we real quick, 2 Maccabees 10:6. I just got to get it real quick. For the people that's online. All right. Because yes, it is a Sabbath. I know that dedication happened to fall on the actual 7 days. Well, technically it's over, but the first day of dedication is a Sabbath. All right. Go ahead, read that real quick.
2 Maccabees 10:6. And they kept 8 days with gladness, as in the Feast of the Tabernacles.
As in the Feast of the Tabernacles. Read.
Remembering that not long afore they had held the Feast of the Tabernacles. when as they wandered in the mountains and dens like beasts.
Khan, if you read verse 5, you'll see this is talking about dedication. Dedication is a feast that is supposed to be kept like tabernacles. The first day of tabernacles is a what? And the last day of tabernacles is a what? Khan. The first day of tabernacles is a Sabbath, and the last day of tabernacles is a Sabbath, and it's an 8-day feast. That is exactly how dedication is supposed to be kept. The first day is a Sabbath, the last day is a Sabbath. I just want to get that for people online.
No,
So many
cool.
different understandings. And then that's it. We'll end it like that. Love everybody online. You guys have a beautiful dedication. Drink a lot of yan, eat some food, celebrate.
That's right.
And acknowledge what the Maccabees and our forefathers did against the ungodly heathen as they profaned our temples. All right. Until next time, family. Love you guys online. Shalom.
Shalom.
I'll